Two doctors with 6 years of microdosing between them. We're going to give some really good tips today. If you're trying to microdose, if you haven't started yet, if you started, haven't gotten results yet, we're going to get you there today in this episode. I promise you. I'm Dr. Dave. Welcome to Microdose U.
Enter the world of magic mushrooms with Microdose U.
Hey there, welcome back. I am Dr. Dave, Microdose U, and as you can see, if you're watching the video, as you can see, I have my good friend and colleague, Dr. Denise Moret with me today. She's a doctor of psychology, very, very well experienced in plant medicine, and we're going to share some tips with you today because I know a bunch of you are struggling. You've started, maybe you haven't started yet, you're thinking about starting, but the main thing is you want to feel better every single day. So welcome, Dr. Denise. How are you doing?
I'm great. It's amazing to be here in the same space with you, not on two zoomed in screens. Doing well and just so excited to be here and do this episode with you.
I am traveling a little bit through the East and got together with Dr. Denise, and I said, when we're together, we have to do an episode. We've got like so much to share together. And if you're not familiar, if you're new to the show, Dr. Denise has been a frequent guest, but not only that, she is with me on every single webinar we've done so far here at Microdose U. So just a great resource and a big help. And not only that, you're with me on our 10-week program
How to harness
the power of microdosing.
Yeah.
Sometimes we do so many things we forget. Sometimes we forget a title or two. But we've got the 10-week program. We also have, some people just want to do an hour or want to do a couple hours or whatever. We try to really do whatever we can to make it to make something available for you to feel better. Again, the bottom line is we could talk about microdosing all day long, but what people want is to feel better from their depression, anxiety, PTSD. I mean, there are a lot of other reasons to microdose, but I say those are the most common reasons people are checking my show out. When you get past that, of course, feeling more connected with life and spirituality and being more creative and being better at business or athletic sports. There's so much you can do. But today we're going to focus it on mental health issues, getting started, what could be holding you back. And so let's get right into it. So both of us together have been microdosing. We still, I say it in the present tense, we're still doing it. 6 years, about 6 years between the two of us. We're very fortunate that when we both started microdosing, and it wasn't at the same time, and we didn't even know each other at the exact time we started. We met more recently than that. But fortunately, with both of us, that microdosing kicked in and began to help almost from day one. For me, it was actually day one. I think for you, you said day one also.
Correct.
So I don't know whether that was luck, whatever it was. We were very fortunate, but I want to share this with you that for most people, it doesn't really start helping you on day one. I think we're anomalies. So if it doesn't start helping on day one, if you take your first microdose and you say to yourself, well, I really don't feel any better than I did before, then let's talk about that. And let's say you're microdosing for 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks, and you still are not sure whether it's helping you. Let's talk about that. And how can we get these people feeling better microdosing, but realizing that it might not be an instant fix?
Yeah, exactly. So even though you might not feel anything, I always say it's a very wise medicine and it is working. Even if you don't feel like anything's different immediate, like I did and like you did, it is still working. Might take a while for you to actually feel the effects, like that you feel less depressed, a little, evening off of, more calm, sleeping better, reduced, sort of trauma and actually physical health, like reduction of like pain in the body, arthritis, etc. It may not work in terms of your felt experience in your body, in your being. and yet it is working. So the thing is that there's so many reasons. It's such an individualized process. I mean, one of the reasons we do the program we do is because it really is so unique for each individual that you can't just say, do this many days at this dose. That's going to work for most everybody. It just isn't like that. It's such a unique medicine. So sometimes in the beginning of microdosing, there could be lots of reasons why you're not actually feeling like it's working right away. Maybe the dose isn't correct. Maybe there's some other things in your chemistry, in your enzymes, breaking down the psilocybin into the psilocin. There could be lots of things. So I always say I want to balance both. I know the overall healing is happening when you're taking the medicine, whether it takes 2-3 months to feel that or not, it's absolutely helping. What I also want, though, because I want the best, is for you to have that relief. So it might mean that we're going to adjust the dose schedule or the dose amount. It might mean like doing something like a lemon tech. It might mean adding lion's mane. It might mean looking at some other physiology and enzymes and different things that are going on in your body. There are some people that just don't have the enzymes to break down psilocybin. And so then we have to kind of work to help the body do that. Sometimes, and it's not always the case, that if you're on some pharmaceuticals like SSRI, Lexapro, Prozac, etc., it's actually a myth that that's going to get in the way of the psilocybin. Not the case for everybody. In fact, you're a person who had that experience where you had an immediate effect, but you were still, if I remember correctly, you were on an SSRI for a while, and yet you still had the immediate effect.
Yeah, I was on
Right?
I was on Lexapro, and I didn't even, and I stayed. Here's another misconception. People say that, oh, I'm going to get off of my SSRI first, and then I'm going to start microdosing. I talked about this on an earlier episode just a short time ago, but no, it not only is it not necessary, it's not advisable.
It's definitely not advisable. Yeah. So for some, and I always say to people, you don't have to, like you're saying, and yet this is the myth. It absolutely, and you're an example, living example of, without reducing your SSRI, you still had an immediate effect.
Yes.
And if I remember correctly, over time, you did eventually, I know you did come off the SSRI, and then you had to, like, you almost had to reduce your dose. So it can be that if someone's on some medicines, particularly like an SSRI, they may take a little bit more. So, but not necessarily. Not always.
Not necessarily.
So
right.
We never say, oh, do this or do that, because it's just so individual. It's kind of, unfortunately, on some level, the wisdom of the medicine is it will actually do exactly what's needed in the individual. So that's the good thing, that you know it's going to work regardless. The difficulty is it's a little bit of trial and error as you're finding that kind of effect, and have the desired effect. So have sometime soon a reduction in anxiety, have sometime soon an improvement in, depression, trauma, etc. Now, we always say you have to do the work alongside. You can't just take a pill and go about your, that's the Western medicine, take a pill, it gets better. It sounds a little bizarre, but if you actually do the work, if you kind of set your intention, do the work, realize this is like a multi-level process, it will actually work. So we can dial that in.
But so what do you say to the person that has begun microdosing? And we've talked to so many of these types of people. They've begun microdosing. They seem to be doing everything right with, the right dosages. But, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks have gone by. They're not really feeling any better with their depression and or anxiety. You say that don't worry because it's working anyway. But what do you say to this person that's still not having good days and they're trying to do everything right? What should they do?
Excellent question. And I wish it was an easy, here's the thing, 1, 2, 3 to do. I really do wish it was like that. Unfortunately, it's not, but fortunately, this is the sort of mixed message here. it is working and it's individually targeting exactly what you need. So if someone's dosing and they feel like they've got the right dose, they've dialed it in, they know what the dose is, they're still not having a reduction of symptoms and improvement in their mental health or physical well-being. So I will always say, first of all, are you having any undesirable effects? Sometimes people will have a little more depression, a little more anxiety when they are taking the medicine. And the reason for that is, more often than not, that it's the psilocybin is going to the heart of where the change is most needed. So if you're having an increase in depression, if you're having an increase in anxiety, it's really trying to direct you to heal that. And so, in a certain sense, to say, let me ask for the psilocybin, for the medicine, to not only just like make me feel terrible, but to really heal, because the source of the healing is in that symptom. The exact source of the problem, if you go, oh, I have anxiety, the healing is right in there. So let that serve me and somehow, reveal what really is underlying that anxiety. I know that's a little confusing sounding, but it's like, oh, I feel depressed. Okay, so I'm taking the psilocybin. I feel really depressed. Okay, well, obviously there's something in that needs to heal. So let me trust, it's a little blind faith. Let me trust that depression is eventually, and I keep asking the medicine to help me. It's eventually, pretty quickly, I want that to help me heal. Help it heal, help it heal. So setting that intention without changing the dose often works to
Setting that
help.
intention.
Setting the intention that, I know that this is really terrible. Not only am I mean, as long as somebody's not having a terrible reaction, like they can't get out of bed suddenly, or they're just physically feeling so unwell, they can't stay awake or they can't sleep, then we've got to look at dose timing. Like some people, the psilocybin makes them really sleepy. Okay, take it at night. Most people, it doesn't do that. It kind of gives them some energy. So take it earlier in the day so you're not up at night. But if there is like a bit of an increase in the anxiety or depression, it's because that's where the healing is most needed. So then you kind of set that intention and you say, this is terrible, but it's going to heal. It's going to help me. And if there isn't relief in a few days, a week at the most, there might be something else going on. What that is, it's kind of like very individual. I know that's not a clear answer, and
But
that's
what
both-
else?
that's
What else
both
could
the-
it be? What else could be going on? Do you mean?
It could be that there's some other physiological process that's getting in the way. There could be somebody might be taking some other medicine besides an SSRI. There are people who might be on like a digestive type of supplement or medicine that could be getting in the way of digesting the psilocybin and getting it to be psilocin, and it could be just passing through the body. One of the things I have found very common, it's the easiest fix, that if you're not doing this, the psilocybin's not going to work. And here it is. And I'm doing it right now.
I had a feeling.
If you are not
I had a feeling.
hydrated, you are not going to do well with psilocybin. It is very easy.
So
If you
hydrate.
hydration, I mean, it's the silliest thing. Hydration is so important to your health.
Oh yeah.
If you are not,
for so many reasons.
people
So
will
many
say,
reasons.
oh, I don't like water, whatever. Like you get hydration from herbal teas, from fruit and vegetables. Like as long as you have a couple glasses of water, try to add a little bit. The effects on the body of not having enough hydration water are immediately felt by the water. You cannot eat.
Totally.
You cannot eat for 2 weeks if you don't have enough hydration.
I'd be hungry.
You could you could put yourself into almost like a psychotic state. If I don't drink water for 2 days, I will be psychotic. It's so important to hydrate. So I have worked with people that they're not hydrating. They take psilocybin, which has a little bit of a dehydrating effect anyway. It never gets absorbed into the system. So I always ask people, are you hydrating? Are you eating? If you're not consuming nutrient-dense foods, your body's not going to absorb the psilocybin. If you're taking a lot of ibuprofen, if you're on like a lot of, if you're doing like a lot of Tums or something, that could be getting in the way. So sometimes it's a simple thing. I start with water, I go
That's
through those
interesting.
things.
Also, you know,
Yeah.
like I said, over the last few years, okay, hydration is super important. I just did a episode on constipation, because if you're constipated, if your GI tract is not running right, that's another big issue that's tied to mental health issues, depression and anxiety for sure. Also, I've always talked about getting checked for sleep apnea. If you're not sleeping, or if your sleep is interrupted by, you know, your breathing stops and you're not getting enough oxygen, you can, I always say, you can be the best microdoser in the world, but unless you get that underlying issue treated, you're not going to, you're not going to be taken care of.
Exactly.
And you know, getting checked for your levels of vitamins and minerals and all of that is super important. One time I remember, I personally was going through it. Even when I was microdosing, I was going through a time when for some reason I started feeling very anxious again, and I didn't know why. I'm microdosing, everything was going great, but I started feeling anxiety. Come to find out, my B12 was low. And as soon as I think the first, you know, I take that B12 spray sublingually under my tongue, and within a few hours of spraying underneath my tongue with B12, guess what? I started feeling much better again. So there's so many other, and there's so many other issues. So yeah, you can't put everything else in a vacuum and say, well, forget about the rest of my health. I just want to microdose and it's going to be fine. No, you have to look at your entire medical picture for sure.
Exactly.
And how many, like, you know, you see patients every day. How many psychologists are asking patients if they're dehydrated, or if they're regular, going to the bathroom regular? How many are actually asking those questions?
Not much.
I've never had that asked to me, ever. So these are some really, really good tips. So, you know, you might be saying, well, it's not working for me, but are you doing all these other things that you need to be doing?
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
super important.
If you know that you have actually the real medicine,
That's another thing.
which, you know, sometimes, but I have had situations where, like a married couple, they're both taking the medicine. The husband is doing phenomenal,
Okay.
just having an amazing experience. The wife is having no result at all. So that's actually a very good kind of experiment, because we know that
the medicine's
we know the
working.
medicine's real.
Yeah, you know it's real.
Because we know, unfortunately, that there's some not real genuine stuff out there.
Yeah.
So that already eliminates the question when people tell me, you know, I'm microdosing and I'm having no effect, or I'm microdosing, but like I'm having these bizarre symptoms. I'm like, well, tell me about your medicine, by the way, because sometimes, but so in a situation where you have, like I said, the example, a husband and wife, and the husband's doing great in this example, the wife is, you know, feels nothing. The husband's like, oh my God, this is the best experience, best medicine. And the wife's like, oh, I don't feel anything. There's something unique going on there.
Mhm.
I've had an occasion where I've had the same medicine, several people, and I'm with these people in person, and this one's asleep, this one wants to go for a hike, this one's like, I don't feel anything, give me more, I don't feel anything, give me more. Different chemistry, different enzymes. There could be other things going on. It's a multifactorial kind of situation. You have to really look at it. And it's a little frustrating when you're taking something and you're hearing people say, it's amazing, it's changed my life, and then you're sitting there going, it's not doing anything for me. It's a little hard to hang in there, but I always say to people, just hang in there.
And
just
also
a little while. And there isn't a single person that I've known personally, family, friends, or that I have worked with that has not eventually had
that's
an effect.
great news. So you hear that. Dr. Denise says you've not met anyone that eventually it doesn't work for.
Exactly.
It just hasn't happened with, at least with
Exactly.
your experience.
Right.
And also don't get down on yourself. If you're trying your best and you're microdosing, don't get down on yourself and start blaming yourself and say it's you know, you're just, you know, things aren't working, it's your fault. No, it's not your fault. You're doing the best you can. However, hopefully a lot of this advice we've given you tonight, check these other things out before you, and don't give up. And I'll tell you something else. Don't start jumping around. Don't talk to people and then start jumping around to all different types. You know, some people will say, well, this isn't working, I'll try MDMA or I'll try, something, there's so many possibilities. I'm going to go to an ayahuasca ceremony, or I'm going to do, ketamine or something like, no, psilocybin absolutely works, and microdosing absolutely works. But again, there's other things you have to look at to make sure you're doing these and make sure you're in line with them, and it will ultimately work. So just hang in there. Any last words at all?
No, it just reminds me of a conversation we had about like sort of expectations and like people saying, "Oh, this is going to work," and it doesn't work, and then they're frustrated, angry, going, "Oh, this is
Mhm.
ridiculous. This
And then they're
psilocybin,"
jumping
and
to
then
something else.
So I always say to people, how about intentions, goals, desires, dreams, set that, as opposed to, "Oh, it's not working. I have this expectation and now I'm disappointed, so I'm done." Like there's a little blind faith, and yet having that, this is what I want, this is my intention, this is my goal, this is my dream. What can I do to make that happen? That's the best way to go about it. And 100% of the time, it may take a few months, which is frustrating when you're having some severe issues, and we can kind of like look at, maybe getting some relief quicker. But in general, within a few months, the most, there should be some relief. Hang in
I
there.
think that's great news. It is going to work. Sometimes it just takes a little bit longer, and get all these other things checked out. Dr. Denise and I are going to be doing a webinar, a free webinar this coming, this coming Thursday, September 5th. Now, it's possible you're watching this 3 years later after this, because these videos and these podcasts last a long time. But if you're watching this, not in real time, that wouldn't be the right word, but when it just got published, Thursday, September 5th, the webinar is going to be on dreams, how to understand when you dream, what does it mean? What can you get out of it? How can it help your life if you totally understand what's going on? Suppose you have a dream that keeps repeating. Suppose, there's so many possibilities we can talk about. You've got a whole outline we're going to talk about, but our goal is to help you understand what your dreams mean and how to help them improve your life, whether or not you're using psilocybin or not. Because if you are, we're going to add some things to that. But if you're not, you don't have to be, and we can still help you understand your dreams and really get a lot out of that. So again, Thursday, September 5th, 7 p.m. Eastern time. The link to register, it is free. The link to register is simply microdoseu.com, microdose with the letter U on the end of it, microdoseu.com/class. Looking forward to doing that. I've got a brand new episode that comes out every Wednesday and every Friday. All kinds of great information for you. Make sure you check out the show notes. We've got a lot of links to check out that are going to help you further remember. And if you are interested, we've got the 10-week program that will absolutely help you to get where you want to be as far as feeling that way every single day. We'll get you there quicker because, again, a lot of years of experience in doctor psychology here who sees patients all the time. But what we do is not medical advice. That on this show and the coaching program, it's not official medical advice. We're not acting as your actual doctors. However, we're there to help you as your mentors, as your coaches, and we want to see you get to where you want to be. So again, links are all in the show notes and on the website, microdoseu.com. We can help you get where you want to be. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for being a subscriber, a follower, a listener, a viewer. And what I always say at the end of every episode, I am Dr. Dave. I love you. You can say the same thing if you want. You don't have to, but you can.
Dr. Denise, and I absolutely love you.
We got to do more of these together then. We both love, and we say that. I'll tell you something else. We mean it because we feel your presence and we want you to feel better every single day. That's what we want for you. We don't have to be doing this, but we're both so passionate about you feeling better because it's helped us so much. We want you to feel better. So again, thanks so much for being with us. See you on the next episode, and see you Thursday night, September 5th, when we talk about dreams. I'm dreaming about that webinar right now. See you all later.